Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda 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 Paramashivoham.
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyananda, I offer my humble obeisance, my humble pranam at the divine lotus feet of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. And I'm welcoming all of the viewers who are gathering with us right now on Nithyananda TV, Kailasa TV, from all of the thousands of satsang centers and Padaka mandirs and all of the Annalayas, the Devalayas, the Goshalas, the e-Gurukuls and Gurukuls across the world who are joining us for this live stream, this program today, as we are continuing to share the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the Adi Shaivite minority tradition. As many of you know, we across the world, in Kailasas across the world, we are celebrating, we are in deep and immense gratitude that finally the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is recognized by the United Nations. For the past decade, we have been literally going door to door, begging for some form of justice, some form of reprieve for the absolute dehumanization, torture, assassination attempts, lawfare, physical, sexual assault, and rape of so many Hindus, and above all, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself. Today, if you search Nithyananda, the name of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, online, the first thing that comes up is perhaps some extremely derogatory hate speech, hate crimes against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Today, the way that he is even known on the media, he is spoken about or trolled, how so much of hate speech is crawling the internet and infesting the minds of people who are not knowledgeable enough and are ignorant to the truth behind his contribution to the world, and how he is empowering each and every individual and here on planet Earth to awaken the whole of humanity and bring superconscious breakthrough. Why is the Supreme Pontiff not known for 1 billion people who are enriched and enriched across the world? How is he not known for 1 billion meals, 3 nutritious vegetarian meals served across the world? How is the fact that he has been recognized in more than 40 different awards and recognitions by various different government leaders, by various different Senate and Congress members in the United States, across the United States, and in various cities of the United States, in Canada, and also Mexico, in Colombia, and so many different countries, how he has been awarded and recognized for the contribution and the revival work of Sanatana Hindu Dharma that he is doing. How is he not known for the revival of 14 ancient indigenous kingdoms, revived from literally 60,000 years back when Paramashiva himself was on planet Earth, and the Sanatana Hindu Dharma literally originated, such as the Madhurayadinam, the Kailasa Shamala Pita Sarvagna Pita, which runs and administers and is literally the background of the entire city of Madurai and the Madurai temple. And how is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism not known for the absolute breakthroughs given to the world of power manifestation? Literally, the blind are being able to see for the first time in their lives through the powers of third eye. People who have not been able to walk for 30 years are just getting up and walking just like that. Even when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was violated to the extreme, and he himself was needing to use a wheelchair, he still made an patient of paralysis walk for the first time after 30 years in her life. These contributions, these absolutely selfless forms of unconditional love and compassion go absolutely silent, unnoticed, and invisible to mainstream population, the mainstream media, due to the anti-Hindu militant forces who have, for the last more than 1 decade, worked, conspired, criminally strategized, and then executed the most brutal attack against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. With more than 70 attempts to assassinate him, and every single Adinam which he himself worked to build, carve the deities, send, ship, and establish the ecosystem, and all of the disciples, the various sampradayas which Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism revived, were all put at stake, destroyed, and victimized due to the attacks by the neo-Hindutva, anti-Hindu militant terrorist forces. And it is very much known across the world, especially by the United Nations, that how rape and child sexual abuse, sexual assault, gender-based violence in general is used as a weapon of war. If we take the example of the Cambodian genocide, or if we take the example of the Rwandan genocide, or even the Jewish Holocaust, in every single ethnocide that has happened in history so far, the rape and destabilization, absolute dehumanization of women defines the way and the execution, the literal demolition of an entire ethnicity and an entire culture. This exactly was what happened in the Hindu Holocaust and what is ongoing against the women of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition. And I myself, as a victim of the anti-Hindu militant forces, stand to say, first of all, in front of all of you, I request your time right now to listen to my story and also the stories of so many women who are ultimately protected by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and whom we see as our Guru and God, whom we saw sacrifice absolutely everything for us. As a victim of the anti-Hindu militant forces, I'd like to tell all viewers that I am not the only one. I am not the only one to have gone through, been victimized, been sexually assaulted, raped, and manipulated, brainwashed by the leaders of the anti-Hindu militant forces. And there's a countless number of silenced voices. Over the past few days, many of the viewers might have been seeing how many voices have been coming on this platform, where so many people have been sharing their stories. How children, women, sannyasis, rudrakanyas have all come to share with each and every one of you their stories. But not just the people who have come and been brave enough to share their story, but also there are so many who do not have this platform, who have been silenced, manipulated, brainwashed to the point where they're not able to even start their recovery. I can say on the other side, having healed from so much of trauma and having been empowered by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, by the amount of love that he has poured into surrounding me with the Hindu ecosystem and building ecosystems across the world to empower so many different women to realize their infinite possibility. I would like to share my story as well as the stories of all of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition women, and share how pained we've been to see how much the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has gone through just to protect us. I hope that you stay tuned to listen in this following segment on the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the Adi Shaivite minority tradition, and understand the real story and come together to take action today. So we will be right back with you. Stay tuned. Please take a few minutes right now and share this live feed as we're going to be taking the next few minutes, next segments, to share with you the details of the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Please take a few minutes right now and share on social media this live link, and also please you can share the link of where the United Nations has finally officially recognized the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We'll be right back with you shortly to begin this segment, this continued segment of presenting to each and every one of you the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the women of the ASMT.
Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda.
Just be alive for next 3 years. Don't die within next 3 years. Just don't die within next 3 years. Be alive. Somehow be alive. I'm working sincerely. I will reach you somehow. Somehow I will reach you. It's my commitment to humanity. Just don't die within next 3 years. I will reach you wherever you are, whichever corner of the world you may be. I will reach you with enlightenment. You manifesting the space, state, powers, being Paramashivoham. It is possible, and it is possible for you. Paramashivoham will reach you with enlightenment science. I know he is going to do the job. Just be alive for next 3 years. Nothing else.
Nithyananda. Nithyananda, welcome back to all the viewers. I hope that
I turned down. and it's fully yellow.
I welcome back to all the viewers, and I hope that you've taken a few minutes right now just to share the live program with all of your friends, your family, everyone who is interested in listening. If you are watching this right now, I really like to request your deep listening, as I'm able on this platform to share the stories of all of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition, and we are able to share the pain of being and seeing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism undergo so much of torture at the hands of the new Hindutva militant forces, and how much he has done to sacrifice everything, anything, to empower each and every one of us to our most ultimate possibilities. Today, if I am alive, speaking in front of all of you in absolutely perfect health and free from all kinds of anxiety, depression, of post-traumatic stress disorder, and not even once thinking of the trauma that I have been through, the victimization, and the absolute violence that each and every single pore of me has gone through. If I am able to say happily, blissfully to all of you that right now I am able to live my highest potential with so much of hope and determination for the future, it is because of how much the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has protected, and out of his most unconditional compassion, protected and surrounded me with the ecosystem of Kailasa from a very young age. And I like to tell all the viewers that it's not just my story. It's not just one person. Based on my witness, based on the conversations when I was a victim to the leaders of the anti-Hindu militant forces, based on all of this, I know I'm not the only one, and all of the victims that you have seen so far are not the only ones. Each and every one of us are not the only ones. We are the voices speaking on behalf of all of the ones, of everyone who is absolutely silenced by the anti-Hindu militant forces. Today, we like to present to each and every one of you a very important subject on the objectification in the media of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and all of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition. And joining with me here today live is also Ma Nithyananda Paramashivam. And we will present to each and every one of you, break it down on how the gender and complete acceptance of all genders in Sanatana Hindu Dharma was absolutely exploited and used as a tactic to spread hatred in the media and incite a mob lynching against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and also incite the violence against all of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition. So we will be continuing this segment today on this very topic. Stay tuned to listen to the heart-wrenching stories of so many victims of the neo-Hindutva militant forces, and make sure that you're listening deeply and share. This is the opportunity we have right now, the time we have right now to ensure that no more Hindu women undergo childhood trauma, undergo sexual assault, by the anti-Hindu militant forces. Please take a few minutes right now and share once again. We'll be right back with you shortly.
Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 Om Nithyananda.
Just be alive for next 3 years. Don't die within next 3 years. Just don't die within next 3 years. Be alive. Somehow be alive. I'm working sincerely. I will reach you somehow. Somehow I will reach you. It's my commitment to humanity. Just don't die within next 3 years. I will reach you wherever you are, whichever corner of the world you may be. I will reach you with enlightenment. You manifesting the space, state, powers, being Paramashivoham. It is possible, and it is possible for you. Paramashiva will reach you with enlightenment science. I know he is going to do the job. Just be alive for next 3 years. Nothing else.
Paramashivoham.
Welcome back, dear viewers. As Ma Sadashiva was sharing, today we wanted to share with you about the whole concept and idea of sexual objectification of women and the objectification of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in the media. And we wanted to start off with giving an overview about the genders, the 11 genders in Hinduism, and about the LGBTQ. Very widely spoken about topic, and it's considered a very progressive stance, and there are countries which accept same-sex marriage and things like that, and there are countries where it is banned still, it's illegal. So what is Hinduism's take on LGBTQ? And first, we wanted to share with you about the current status of the LGBTQ community in today's world, and then also share with you about what is Sanatana Hindu Dharma's take on LGBTQ and how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, as the leader of the ASMT community, is reviving the ancient tradition of Hinduism, and yet a very ancient and a very progressive stance taken by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, our beloved Swamiji. Okay, so an LGBTQ in today's world. Now, people around the world face violence and inequality and sometimes torture, even execution, because of who they love, how they look, or who they are. Sexual orientation and gender identity are integral aspects of ourselves and should never lead to discrimination or abuse.
Yes. Expressions of gender identity and sexual orientation are still considered taboo, and many people refrain from talking about it because of social stigma. Although the world seems more liberal nowadays, and people have seemed to be opened up about the concept of binary gender, laws have been passed and evolved in places like the United States. For example, in many places around the world, it is still extremely a stigma and a taboo thing to be talking about, and to even be expressing or feeling, so much so that people are not able to cope with the pressure of being judged, being ridiculed, or even having hate crimes being done against them due to their sexual orientation and gender.
Now, the LGBTQ people of color face highest rates of discrimination and hate crimes, especially transgender women of color. We live in a gender binary system. Individuals of LGBTQ are marginalized. In some cultures, most families do not accept non-conforming behavior by their children.
And same-sex relationships are legal, legitimized by the government of only 22 out of 54 countries. And the rest actually can be punishable by death with the maximum penalty or life imprisonment, according to the global review by the ILGA, the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Intersex Association.
In some countries, laws criminalize and ban consensual same-sex activity and relationships, adding it as an effective method to contain the country's HIV epidemic. Women have been subject to violence and marginalization, not only in general society, but in LGBTQ community as well.
In Brazil, there's about 300 active LGBT organizations and marriage rights in place since 2013. In June 13, 2019, the Brazilian Supreme Court ruled that discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity is a crime equal to racism.
In most contexts, policymakers are taking decisions in the dark, left only with personal preconceptions and prejudices. The realities of violence and discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity are least understood and at best incomplete and fragmented, says Victor, the United Nations independent expert on protection. But in most countries, it is simply non-existent.
The United Nations adds that a fully effective data is impossible based on the level of barriers created by criminalization, pathologization, stigmatization, which keeps the accurate estimates regarding the world population and areas that are affected by human rights violations against the LGBT persons. Basically, in summary, knowing the real facts of what is going on against LGBT and the trauma that they're facing is almost impossible.
Seldom our society cares to realize the trauma which the members of the transgender community neither undergo nor appreciates the innate feelings of the members of the transgender community, especially of those whose mind and body disown their biological sex.
Inherent in all beings, regardless of nationality, place of residence, gender, sexual orientation, sexual characteristics, nationality, or ethnic origin, the color of their skin, their religion, their language, or any other status. And human rights are a basic fundamental right that all beings are entitled to.
And we live in a sexual binary system. In a gender binary system, says Dr. Subrajit Chatterjee in 2018, he says, the essentialist view upon birth our sexual orientation is fixed by nature. However, the social view is defined by the biological makeup of the physical body.
But here, the assertion is that there are only two genders, male and female. That means that the sexual orientation categories are extremely limited and you're not able to express yourself if you feel you are not in these two categories. And based on the biological sex only, male and female gender, the entire gender binary system is placed, and our entire society works and runs on this very extremely limited cognition.
And in Hinduism, we have had the reference of the third gender, and beyond gender binary traces, which traces back in history, in the Hindu epics Ramayana and Mahabharata. Shikandi, which is a very well-known character in Mahabharata, who was responsible for the killing of the great Pitamaha, Bhishma Pitamaha. She was the one who killed. She was a transgender. And Sanskrit was used to write all major Hindu epics and uses three genders. In Sanskrit, you have three genders, Pullinga, Strilinga, and Napumsakalinga, which means masculine gender, feminine gender, and a neutral gender, the Napumsakalinga. So Sanskrit has the ability to say that the person is of other gender, which currently we do not have in the English dictionary. Sanskrit, which is a divine language and the language which traces back to tens of thousands of years, has the third gender ability for you to express that.
And of course, in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, the embodiment of beyond gender, of going beyond gender, is a divine quality embodied by the god Ardhanarishwara. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism says that the ultimate symbol of completion of gender identity. Anybody who wishes for completion with crisis caused by gender identity or misidentification could connect to Ardhanarishwara and the replica of the original deity in Arunachala, which is consecrated in the Los Angeles temple, the Nithyanandeshwara Los Angeles temple in Kailasa in Los Angeles in California in the United States. And this is a very beautiful deity the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself consecrated in the Los Angeles temple for this very purpose.
Now, in the Hindu epic Ramayana, Lord Rama leaves the forest for 14 years and asks all the men and women to return to the city. Among his followers, the Hijras alone do not feel bound by the direction and decide to stay with him. Impressed with their devotion, Rama sanctions them the power to bestow the blessings on people on auspicious occasions like childbirth and marriage, and also at inaugural functions. So always you can see the people of the third gender or the other genders are in their or in the Vedagamic tradition, they bless at the time of childbirth and marriage and other.
Yes, and today studies find that the LGBT youth, adolescents report higher rates of abuse, victimization, and bullying more than their non-LGBT peers. Reports have higher rates of mental illness and suicidal ideation in the youth who are LGBT, who identify as LGBT. And Hinduism, in contrast, empowers humanity on one's own uniqueness, or on self-discovery, individuality, and going beyond the gender binary. And of course, going beyond the dualities of the world, the dualities of your perceptions of reality itself.
On the 3rd of November, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism said, the worst thing done to you by your society is trying to push you to 3 to 4 genders. They are recognizing as either male, female, or gay, and not letting you understand that they don't have the ultimate solution, but trying to push their half-unverified, non-time-tested, non-foolproof understanding, ideas, concepts, cognitions being pushed into you, forcing you to digest that.
And that is why in Hinduism, the first 21 years of a child's life, of every child, is the conscious support of celibacy, and how that is extremely crucial. Finding your identification and the natural alignment of your gender in the first 21 years is an absolute requirement in being able to handle your life powerfully in the years to come. And in Hinduism, the science of 11 genders gives absolute, complete completion for one to experience. Yes, ma'am, we can go to the next slide.
Now, in 2020, the movement for LGBTQ rights in the country gained widespread support amongst the religious people. Marriage equality and LGBTQ rights in the US have strongly shifted, and individuals are identified as religious pro-LGBTQ quality. Reports from the UCLA Schools of Law, Williams Institute in 2020, more than half of LGBTQ adults are religious in the American LGBTQ community.
And in 2018, transsexualism was removed from the World Health Organization's disease manual, the ICD-11. This removal was one of the several changes made to the WHO's International Classification of Diseases, a manual used by doctors in most countries around the world. So basically, until 2018, transgenders were identified as having a disease and something which was absolutely wrong with them, which was a disease inside of them. And only in 2018 that was removed. But that doesn't erase maybe the years of trauma that one would have faced trying to digest, trying to understand what was really wrong with them when there was nothing wrong at all.
So, which means that transgender people will no longer be classified as having mental illnesses by the WHO, an international public health agency run by the United Nations. Renamed gender incongruence to its list of sexual health conditions, because while evidence is now clear that it is not a mental disorder. And ending of the pathologization, which is a treatment of a health or behavioral condition as if it were a medical condition. So that has been ended by the WHO. Now, quickly, we will give you an overview of what are the 11 genders that have been identified in Hinduism. Just a very quick overview so that we understand how the Hinduism and the SMT community are extremely progressive in their stance when it comes to identifying the sexual orientation.
So the 2 genders versus the 11 genders. Now, society has only an understanding of 2 genders, but actually 11 genders exist. There's no such thing as straight, and there's just being a being which is clothed with a body. The various permutations and combinations of our gender identification in 4 levels: physical, physiological, psychological, and the conscious level make the 11 genders.
Now, the gender, what is a gender, right? Gender is not just what you have in the physical body. Gender is a totality of our identification with the physical body, what you identify, what is the physical body that you have. Physiological existence means the internal operations of your bodily organs. How do they perform? Do they, for example, women go through their menstrual cycles, and men have their own bodily developments, internal organ developments, the male hormones, the female hormones. So all of that comes under the physiological existence. There are people who have male bodies, but their organs, internal organs, do function as female, or there are people who have female bodies, but they have male hormones also in them, more like a male than a female. So your physical body and your physiological body, though more often than not, are the same, but there have been unique situations, unique cases, several of such, where your physical body may be a female, but your physiological, the functioning of the organs may be female, and vice versa. And the third is the psychological layer. Like, what do you feel about you, right? The identity that you carry about you, inside you, in terms of the gender. So that's the psychological layer. And the fourth is the conscious layer. Will, what do you want yourself to be? That is the fourth layer. So the permutation combination of these 4, your physical body, your physiological existence, psychological existence, and your will about you, all these 4 mix and match determines your gender. Now, let's go back to, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who's the avatar of Paramashivoham, right? So an avatar is someone who is beyond all genders. So let us now see what is an avatar, the physical body and the physical manifestation of.
Yes, an avatar is a physical manifestation of the metaphysical union of Shiva Shakti. He exists in the state of pure consciousness, Shiva, even as he manifests as an embodied form, Shakti. Physically, the grace exhibited and the other attributes ranging from hairline to form all point to the state of Ardhanarishwara, revealing the simultaneous expression and the perfect poise of masculine and feminine energies.
Now, let's just watch this short clip on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism sharing about his experience after enlightenment, where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is beyond the identity of male or female. Let's watch this short clip.
I can say 2-3 things happened permanently after enlightenment. First thing, the inner chattering is not there. The gap which I gave just now, even in that few seconds, there's no word. Pure space. The second thing, the idea, the boundary, the border ends here and here starts the world. That border consciousness is not there. Whenever I have to handle the body, Body moves, the handling happens, but when I relax, again that idea is not there. That boundary feeling doesn't exist. Third thing, even though body is male body, it is too personal, but I can say, it is up to you to understand or not, I don't mind. Because Swamiji has asked, at least for Swamiji's sake, I am sharing. Even though body is male body, the identity male or female has disappeared. The psychological identity that I am male or I am female, that doesn't exist. It is not there.
So far we shared with you about the very concept of gender and how the currently in the world the situation of LGBTQ community is, and how Hinduism and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism have an extremely progressive stance towards LGBTQ. And in the next segment of the program, we are going to share with you about the very physiology and the body of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and who has declared himself to be of transcendental gender, after a short break.
Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
What I mean by the word Kailasa, listen intensely. Enlightenment ecosystem, literally enlightenment itself, in your own home, wherever you are. If you cannot come to Kailasa, it's okay. Kailasa can come to you. Kailasa coming to you is Kailasa. I will revive Hinduism. I am a Hindu revivalist, not by any revolution, but by evolution. And setting model community. Kailasas, enlightenment ecosystems, Sarvanya Pitas all over the world. All powerful cognition, knowledge, only when you live, power manifestation and possibilities manifestation happens. It's a fundamental truth. Hinduism cannot live exclusively as one sampradaya. No. All sampradayas of Hinduism is an ecosystem. So don't keep quiet thinking that if one sampradaya is attacked, only that sampradaya is going to be affected. All of us are ecosystems. I invite all of you to get involved and enjoy Hinduism by the principle of Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. When you protect Dharma, Dharma protects. you, we will make the whole planet can flourish spiritually. The spiritual prosperity will happen to the whole planet can. We all have to coexist together.
We get you health. We get you ability to build beautiful relationships in your life. We get you direct spiritual support, and we make sure you become wealthy. We won't stop giving you just good life. We will literally not stop till you live enlightened life. Manifesting the state of Paramashiva, space of Paramashiva, powers of Paramashiva, being of Paramashiva. Whole world should become Kailasians.
I want the whole world to know Hindus have something great to contribute to the world. We have something great to contribute to the world. Let us do that.
Kailasa is proper customized spiritual service helping you to identify your root patterns of suffering. We have perfected the science of helping every individual from every cultural, religious, nationality background. You will have lowest reactionary assumptions, highest awakened response, alive response for life continuously. Kailasa is enlightenment ecosystem, literally enlightenment itself in your own home, wherever you are. Proper customized spiritual service helping you to complete with your life negativity, withdrawal from life, self-hatred, self-denial, self-doubt, so much of tiredness, laziness. We can support you aligning your diet, your attitude, your aptitude, your understanding about life. We can help you with everything. If you are interested in enlightenment, we will immediately bring this to you. If you are not interested, we will explain the whole science, inspire you and make you interested in enlightenment time. We need to cater this enlightenment science to the whole world wherever they are, because enlightenment is the birthright of all human beings. Kailasa is responsible to provide that to all human beings. Kailasa is the totality of the knowledge I received from my gurus and practice manifested in my life, perfected by teaching millions of people from all cultures, time zones, backgrounds, genders, nationality, race, from every creed, absolutely perfected knowledge available to you, served to you in your home without even you moving out of your couch, free of cost.
Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
Nithyananda,
Nithyananda
all of the viewers once again. As we are continuing on in this segment on the persecution against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, I really request all the viewers who are joining with us, you can share this live program and also make sure that you share the link to where the UN, the OHCR, has recognized the persecution against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Now that we have a legitimate platform where finally, after 10 years, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been recognized for how much he's been persecuted, and despite all the persecution is continuously contributing, and that he is foremost in the world's foremost advocate for the protection of women's rights. Now that there is a platform and the UN is recognizing this persecution, let us do our responsibility in sharing it with the world and ensuring that every single Hindu knows and every single person knows that this is a real thing. And finally, we can start building back from the 5,000-year Hindu Holocaust that has happened. Make sure that you are sharing once again.
And so far, we had shared with you about how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the leader of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, is of transcendental gender and radiating the state space powers of Ardhanarishwara, who is a perfect balance of the male and the female energies. And for this very same idea, the Supreme Pontiff, for this very same fact, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was completely abused by the anti-Hindu elements, by the anti-Hindu media, by the neo-Hindutva media, who abused the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, denigrated him, discriminated him, isolated him from the rest of the society, and did so much of a character assassination on him, discussing such vulgar things about the gender of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And that's what we wanted to share with you. How the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
The main thing here, the main thing here I would like to emphasize to all the viewers is the fact that they're using, absolutely ridiculing, creating so much of hate speech against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism regarding his gender and questioning the very essence of his gender, because, and in order to justify ultimately eliminating him from the revival of Kailasa, which he has been working towards and giving so much of work towards, and ultimately justifying the assassination attempts against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. It's not a simple ridicule, hate speech, hate crime, or anything like that. It's not a one-time thing. This is a huge conspiracy, a planned attack where they're using very specific strategies to demobilize and ultimately eliminate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the revival of Kailasa, which he has worked so hard for the last 27 years. And we have a YouTube viewer whose name is Debanand Giri. Debanand Giri is asking, Namaste from Guyana, do you have devotees here? Does your organization teach advocate celibacy like the traditional Vedic culture? We have a large South Indian population here. So Devanand Girji,
Absolutely. So we do have a large devotee base in Guyana, and I request you to kindly email your contact details to contact@kailasa.org, which is contact@kailasa.org. You can go ahead and email, and we will reach out to you. Our Sangha locally in Guyana will reach out to you. So please do send your WhatsApp number and your contact information, your email ID, what do you do in Guyana. Please do email us at contact contact@kailasa, KAILASA.org, and we will definitely reach out to you and connect you with the Kailasa in Guyana. And you're also asking, does your organization advocate celibacy? So we do have all the genders, all the varnashramas. So we have the brahmacharya, the vanaprastha, the grihastha, and the sannyas orders. So depending on which order that you are in, if you are a krama brahmachari, means studying the Gurukul during the time of your education, yes, you will have to live the vow of celibacy, which really prepares you for the life after. If you are in the grihastha order, then you live a regular householder's life, and if you are in the vanaprastha or the sannyas order, again you live the vow of celibacy that you are currently living in. It depends on that. Devanand Girji is saying, my father's family is from South India. Very, very, very happy to know that. Thank you so much for joining us live and commenting and actively participating in the session. We welcome you to the program, Devanand Girji. Yes. So what we were sharing is how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had been ridiculed in the media just because the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism declared himself to be of transcendental gender, and he was totally ridiculed. The media wrote so much of hate speech saying that the Supreme Pontiff declaring himself to be a transcendental gender, and when the rape accused, when the anti-Hindu elements filed a false rape case on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Supreme Pontiff declared that I have a yogic physiology and my body is beyond gender. Do the medical test on me and you will know that I am beyond gender and I am not even capable of performing whatever Swamiji is being accused of. It's impossible for Swamiji's body to even perform those of whatever that stupid, baseless rape accusations that have been slapped on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And very clearly, the medical records of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism show that the male hormone level in Supreme Pontiff's body is less than that of a 6-year-old child. Less than that of a 6-year-old child. So the body is totally different, even though it's a male body, but the operations and the functions of the body are very different. He has a yogic ridiculed in the media. There are so many media articles that we want to show you where he has been, cartoons have been made on Supreme Pontiff and he has been discriminated and he's been presented in such a bad limelight. Yes, Masadashika.
And not only that, as these media articles were being spread across the media, in newspapers, in social and online media, and all of the different channels across India, so much of hatred among the public and among the general audience, just to show as if the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was actually some kind of low person that they were trying to make him as, and make him as a public enemy, trying to character assassinate him to that point, which literally distracted the entire general public, millions of people whose only knowledge about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism might just be from the media and a crazy frenzy of media attacks. While on one side they were distracting and creating a frenzy of absolutely vile allegations and extremely vulgar articles about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, meanwhile they could execute their plans to incite hatred and in mobs and try to mob lynch the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in several different occasions, in so many different times when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was just after the attack started on March 2nd, 2010, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was literally chased all over India by the anti-Hindu militant forces. While these articles were running in the media, were inciting so much of hatred, forming and making the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as if he was
you can see some of the media articles being projected where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is so, how they are presenting and denigrating the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And here in the bottom, you can also see, the caricatures and cartoons and teasing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Yes, ma'am, please go down. And here in the bottom, they are using the word Nithyananda. Instead of putting the Supreme Pontiff's name as Paramahamsa Nithyananda, they are ridiculing by saying Nithyananda. Nanga means it's a very abusive way of addressing the third gender, saying he's not even a man. It's like that. Not in a respectful way, saying, the Supreme Pontiff is of transcendental gender, just in a very abusive way, in a very, showing and denigrating Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And that's what the media articles are doing, some of the media articles that we are showing here.
And not only that, as we're seeing, some of these articles were targeted, were planned to be released on the subsequent days to the release of a fabricated obscene video by Sun TV. So these articles came on March 2nd, March 3rd, 4th, 5th, until the 7th. Some of these articles were literally planned, pre-written and planned to be published while the anti-Hindu militant forces were chasing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, trying to find him, arrest him, and ultimately execute their plan to kill him. Understand that while the media created a frenzy on the character of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and did so much to assassinate the good nature and the divine nature of an enlightened master, the anti-Hindu militant forces were on the other side trying to execute their plan to eliminate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Now, why this is important ultimately is going back to the point where the very gender, the idea of the Hindu gender, the revival that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is doing, and ultimately how he is representing a possibility for humankind to go beyond gender, to accept all genders, is being attacked and used in order to eliminate the people who represent that possibility, eliminate Hindu gurus who are representing that ultimate possibility with attacks in the media, with a physical attacks, and so much already.
Yes, and you can also see media articles where it's been the Supreme Pontiff has been ridiculed, saying that the Supreme Pontiff is declaring himself that he is not a man. Actually, what the Supreme Pontiff actually told was that he was of transcendental gender, and they can actually do the medical test on him to know that he is not a person. His very physiology is a yogic physiology, and they can test it. But however, you can see here, instead of saying God-man, here of course they're ridiculing, saying ladies God-man in women's cell. So they're saying, they're debating that whether the Supreme Pontiff should be sent to women's cell. In a very denigrating way. When the Supreme Pontiff is saying, I am of transcendental gender, they're saying, the media twists it and presents the narrative saying that, the Supreme Pontiff is not a man and maybe he should be sent to the women's cell.
Now, continuously honing in on this point is not a coincidence at all. It's a strategy to entirely dehumanize the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and absolutely justify the acts of violence against him and acts of absolute disrespect and dehumanization and third-degree torture that they execute against him in prison for 53 days. It is absolutely horrendous the way that they are continuously honing in on these facts, trying to show as if the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is such a public enemy in these ways. Where on one side, the Supreme Pontiff, where the truth is that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is a representation of the ultimate possibility for human beings to go beyond gender and achieve the superconscious mutation, where we are expressing higher abilities and higher qualities. On the other side, the media and how they project in order to incite attack and execute their plans is absolutely terrifying. And not only this, they do this in order to stop the potential for the entire humankind to be able to receive the benefit, to have actually awaken themselves to the superconscious breakthrough, the possibility for superconscious breakthrough, and the possibility to literally achieve their highest reality. They're doing
and one of the reasons.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
Yes, and they're doing this as a planned strategic attack. Why we know this? Because for the last 5,000 years, the Hindus have seen how literally by so many different forces, they are continuously being attacked. That's why we know when we're being attacked again. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, having taken up since the age of 16 years old, having taken up the revival of the Hindu civilizational nation, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the one who has to undergo the most brutal attacks. Yes, Manyanatma Swami, please go ahead.
Minority tradition. Rudra Kanyas and sannyasis are revered and worshipped, and we have the examples of the great epitomes and examples of Hindu feminism: Akka Mahadevi, Bhairavi Brahmani, the great Rudra Kanya, Vellayammal, the Ammani Amman, who
even we can
actually built an entire tower all by herself, just completely just out of her inspiration. They are the examples of the great Vedic feminism. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the true Vedic feminism. And he has been attacked for this very same reason. The women are attacked, the disciples are attacked, the Rudrakanyas are attacked, the female sannyasis are attacked and raped and molested and abused and whatnot. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, because the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving all the female traditions of Sanatana Hindu Dharma, which is completely against the agenda of the Neo-Hindutva militant group. They want to attack the female disciples and want to assassinate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism because this is completely against their agenda.
And I myself was, when I was 7 years old, initiated by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as a Rudra Kanya, and from a young age been empowered and encouraged, surrounded in an ecosystem where I was enabled to be able to practice and learn, imbibe the sacred arts, be able to practice and learn rituals and conduct rituals in temples, be able to understand temple administration, be able to learn the sacred Hindu arts such as Hindu dance, singing, alankaram, or the decoration of deities, and the sacred decoration of deities, I should say, and also even in the different arts, the 64 kalas of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Each and every one I was able to be learning, imbibing my whole childhood in. And unfortunately, I was a victim of one of the leaders of the anti-Hindu militant forces. And it was due to the protection of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and how he risked everything in order to protect me and so many other victims that I am able to even be here and alive today. And I'd like to say that it was for the revival, for the empowerment of women, and the revival of the most empowering sampradayas, the Yogini Sampradaya, the Bhairavi Sampradaya, the Sannyasi Sampradaya, and the Rudrakanya Sampradaya, that have scriptural foundations in the Hindu civilization, that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had literally undergone so much of attack. And not only that, he was successfully reviving these traditions to empower women, to build a civilization on planet Earth where all genders were accepted and empowered for their infinite possibility, and ultimately to enable and empower each individual to the powers and space of their consciousness itself. And because of this pure good mission that he had, that he was successfully doing, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism underwent so much of attack. The greatness of the Rudrakanya Sampradaya, actually in the Kamikagama, the Rudrakanyas are referenced and described by Paramashiva himself. Kamikagama is one of the foremost agamas and the oldest scriptures known to humanity itself, in the oldest scriptures in Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Rudrakanyas are described by Paramashiva himself as his dearest devotees who are chaste and disciples of him, who are actually having the status which is among the Shivacharyas, the Shivacharyas being the Pujacharyas or priests, main priests of all of the Shiva temples. And also he describes their role in the temples and the Hindu civilization. This was what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was reviving. If you see now how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has undergone attacks, it is just because he was reviving some of the most important, most crucial and vital sampradayas, lineages to the Hindu civilization. And we know this because 5,000 years, the Rudrakanya Sampradaya was massacred until absolute elimination, was literally driven to extinction and driven out of the temples, made to be prostitutes and enslaved by the Mughal invaders, and even during the British occupation of India. And they're literally driven to, this entire lineage was absolutely stamped out. And because of that, the Rudrakanyas were such a vital role in the temple lifestyle in the Hindu civilization, that because when they were destroyed, the entire civilization was destabilized and became absolutely unstable, and further attacks were unable to happen. In the same way, today, as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the Adi-Shaivite minority tradition, and Hindu women across the world are recognizing how this beautiful tradition he is reviving and participating and starting to live these lifestyles, the anti-Hindus, the neo-Hindutva militant forces are doing the same attacks. Brutal murder or child rape, child sexual assault, gang rape, all of these are the ways that the women, indigenous women of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition, the disciples of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism were targeted to entirely destroy the revival of Kailasa that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is doing. And not only that, the objectification of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition, indigenous women in the media, how they were shown continuously, and their characters questioned, literally made as prostitutes in the media and social media, trolled and hated online, cyberbullied. While on one side they were attacked, brutally raped, gang raped even. Children were molested and sexually assaulted. On the other side, in the media, they were showing all of the women who were disciples of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who wanted to live the spiritual lifestyle, who took up this lifestyle out of deep trust and determination to be able to live their highest potential. They were shown as prostitutes in the media.
Yes.
Yes, Ma, go ahead.
This is just one example of an attack in one of the enlightenment ecosystems established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in Tiruvannamalai. And we had attacks that happened in Tiruvannamalai on the ASMT women in Trishulam, and also on the attacks on the senior sannyasi of the Nithyananda order, Nithyananda Mayi Swami. And so much of attack and abusals and character assassinations happened on her. The anti-Hindu elements, they tried their level best to coerce her into blackmailing and threatening and through fear and greed, and did all sorts of things. And did all sorts of things to coerce the ASMT women and the sannyasis to file a false rape case against the Supreme Pontiff. And if you do not agree to that, to their vested interest and their agenda, then they start abusing you left, right, and center in the mainstream media, and they write such vulgar articles about the ASMT women, and you can't even read them. It's so bad, and they ill-treat you, they mistreat you, and they literally treat you as if they are, you are their paid prostitutes. To that extent, they ill-treat you, and they write about you in all the the main media articles. You can see so many media articles have come out. That's one such example. The other example is targeting the ASMT women from marginalized communities. For example, we have a sannyasi who's Manitya Supriyananda, who is from the Dalit community, and specifically the ASMT anti-Hindu element targeted her and sexually abused her, raped her, and did all sorts of things, and wanting to such people never to take up this monastic lifestyle, or never to take up and be a part of this ASMT community. They did all sorts of abuses against the women and wanted to somehow destroy the revival of the true Vedic feminism by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And all of these has been recognized today by the United Nations in the violations, the human rights violations against indigenous women of ASMT. And one other example that we have is that of the Gurukul Balas Nithyanandita, who was just a 16-year-old minor girl, when she was also a victim of the brutal persecution that happened, when she stood strong, she stood strong as a warrior princess to protect and stand for and fight for the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, when the great enlightened being Andar was ridiculed as a prostitute and was badly portrayed as a prostitute. This small little Balasan, who was just 16 years of age at that time, stood up and made YouTube videos to share our pain in how Hinduism is being misrepresented to the public. And this 16-year-old was trolled and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, whom she sees as not just her guru but also her spiritual father and guide. She had so much of vulgar articles, showing Swamiji and her in such a bad limelight and literally hurting the religious sentiments of millions of Hindus. Right, and this is because we do not have, the Hindu Holocaust and what is happening to Hindus today is not known to the international community. So it was extremely important that all these were well documented and presented to the United Nations, which was done by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And today we have the United Nations recognize the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the persecution undergone by the ASMT leader, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and the Adi Shaivite minority tradition and Kailasa itself.
I just like to ask the viewers, imagine being a woman from a traditional background, from an Orthodox family, and you understood and inspired by a Hindu lifestyle, inspired by the beauty of the sacred arts or the temple rituals or the sacred scriptures of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And in being so inspired, you decide to take up a beautiful life as a sannyasi or a Rudrakanya or a yogini. And despite having the best ecosystem and a beautiful, loving community, an anti-Hindu militant targets you for an attack and a planned conspiracy against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Imagine suddenly going through the sexual assault trauma by the anti-Hindu militants and their leaders and being used for their criminal activities and holding on to the faith that justice will be served, that the people who attacked you would be served what they deserved. But then in just a few months, you see media articles suddenly come up on the media being spread across, and suddenly you hear about a article that's talking about you, and you read it and you see that it is this entirely false creation, making you seem as if you're the most unchaste woman, even though you've taken up the chaste sacred lifestyle as a sannyasi and as a Rudrakanya, and your entire body, everything is exposed to the whole world. Your whole everything is exposed. You are absolutely vulnerable to the whole world. These are the crimes of the anti-Hindu militant forces. These are the crimes that they had committed against the women of the Adi Shaivite minority tradition. Even taking the example of the attacks in Trishulam, which I was in also. In 2017, we female Adinavasis, female sannyasis, all of us had been living in Trishulam in Chennai, and we had been building an ecosystem which would enrich the community around us. But the anti-Hindu militant forces were absolutely against a Hindu ecosystem being formed in this very place. They planned an attack and literally stoned us near to death.
I just wanted all our viewers to please comment in the YouTube live chat. If you're watching us live on YouTube, please do go ahead and comment in the YouTube live chat. How do you feel when you're listening about how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the female sampradayas and how he has been a prime target of the anti-Hindu elements and the neo-Hindutva militants because and for this very same reason. Please do put a chat in the YouTube live chat. If you're watching us live on YouTube or Facebook, please do come live and share your thoughts in the comment. Yes, Masada Shupriya, please go ahead.
Yes, as you're seeing, this is exact footage from the attacks that we were all present in Trishulam in September of 2017. Mobs who literally came and stoned us, thrashed our cars, and literally demolished every single window, door, tried to get in, raped the Hindu sannyasinis, and absolutely demoralized and defiled, even dehumanized us until we were absolutely victim to each and every one. Until we could not even be able to take our sister sannyasis to the hospital. They attacked. And this is the exact footage of that. And on the media, what you're showing, in the media, they were showing as if crimes were happening inside of the Adinam, while they were the ones who were coming inside and absolutely destroying the whole monastery complex, a peaceful place for women to live, and for women who want to live the chaste lifestyle, live practicing the presence of God and their Guru at all times. But they were absolutely denied of this right and dehumanized to the furthest extent. Today, at least we are able to say that the UN has finally recognized the persecution against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and we've at least gained one platform where we can share our story and share the immense pain it brings each and every one of us to see the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism undergo 10,000 times more attack than each and every one of us. I'm saying this as a victim of child rape, sexual assault myself. How it's absolutely devastating to see what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism goes through in order to protect each and every one of us, in order to create a home where we are protected. We are simple people who just want to live a beautiful Hindu lifestyle. And this is the attack that we go through. I request each and every one of the viewers who are watching right now, join in on the conversation. Invite your friends into the conversation that's going on and share this with as many people as possible. Share the fact that finally we have gotten our voice heard, and make sure right now that as many people know that the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is recognized by the UN. Every media channel that has made articles against the ASMT women, who has defiled and decharacterized the women of the ASMT, and who has defiled and decharacterized the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself, and who dared to make him any less than the incarnation of Paramashiva himself and show him to the world.
And invite each and every one of you who are watching us to please share this news. Finally, we have a platform today through the United Nations. We are able to share the persecution of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the Kailasa with the world, and UN itself has recognized this persecution and has published the report. So we invite you to please go ahead and share with the hashtag that's projected on the screen, which is hashtag UN recognizes the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda and Kailasa. Use that hashtag and share this feed, share this information, share, let the whole world know that we Hindus After 5,000 years of brutal Holocaust and genocide and murders and what massacres, today, thanks to the effort of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the Hindu Holocaust has finally been recognized by the international bodies and the international communities. It is time for us to just share this information virally. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with the local media. Let everybody be aware that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is a persecuted leader, just like the Dalai Lama. That's what we need to understand. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is a persecuted leader, just like Dalai Lama. And today, the world is coming to recognize that. So with that, we come to the conclusion of this segment. We will now be ending with the Purna Mantra, and hope all of you understood the need for us to stand up and protect Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And just we can do that by sharing this information virally, sharing the post on HDH Nithyananda Paramashivam page, sharing the tweets that have been posted in Swamiji's official Twitter channel at Sri Nithyananda, and let the world know about the Hindu Holocaust and the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Kailasa. With this, we would like to conclude this segment with the Purna Mantra. And next, we'll be moving on to the Kailash Courtyard Manifesting Power session. So do stay tuned. We are having a power manifestation, guided power manifestation session, Kailash Courtyard Manifestation session immediately after this segment. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavad Shri Nithyananda Paramashiva Padukarpanamastu. Om Nithyanandam. Thank you, Nithyanandam.
Thank you, Nithyanandam.
Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
Let's start with the Sadguru Vandanam. Nithyanandam Paramasukhanam Kevalam Jnanamurtim